Initial thought is that they put a lot of effort into it, but it's also a combination of different videos from over the years. So it's not something that was filmed earlier this year. It's a combination of things that have been going on for a long time. He's not stopped. Joseph Kony isn't stopped until he's dead. And then somebody's going to probably try to take over what he's been doing. But for right now, I don't even know if there's any proof other than eyewitnesses from some of the young soldiers or some of the people that have been captured that he's still alive. People who are being impacted are the poorest of the poor. The people that you see in National Geographic living in the mud huts with the grass thatched roofs over the top, and his band of rebels would go storming into these villages, and these villages may hold anywhere from 10 huts up to 100 huts. And he would go into there and just strike terror into them, usually hit late at night. That's why they have the invisible children, because the children would leave the villages at night, because that was one of Joseph Kony's main reasons for going into there, was to get more young rebel soldiers. That plus food and all of the livestock that he could run away with to feed his army. Primarily, yes. I've talked to villagers, though, who have been raided during the daytime, and they're actually rounded up in the fields when they're out working their crops or minding their cattle and their herds, and he would round them up then also. Anytime you have a rebel uprising, you can look at what's happening today in Syria. All of a sudden, the attention of the entire world is on the country of Syria. Same thing happens in Uganda when the people are terrorized by a rebel group. They look to the government for help. So guess what happens to the government if they ask for more troops, if they ask for international troops, arms, weapons, money? The government benefits more than anybody from Joseph Kony's actions. You could stop Joseph Kony immediately. We've all seen movies, and the movies to a point are real. You can hire mercenaries. If the push in this current Kony 2012 is to get Joseph Kony and bring him to the international court, that's one thing. But like Osama bin Laden, he had a bounty on his head from the United States of America. And what did it say? Wanted, dead or alive. If Joseph Kony is dead and he's killed, it stops the problem. You could get mercenaries and go in there, give them $50,000 each, for example, take out Joseph Kony. They will find him, and they will drag him back to wherever you want his body brought. It could end the problem right now. Joseph Kony is not the only terrorist in Uganda. I have personal eyewitness testimony that says that the government has killed more people than Joseph Kony has. All we hear about is the rebel. The government is just this knight in shining armor. That is not the case at all. The government soldiers came from the same camps and the same places that some of these rebels came from. The government has been accused, quote, of killing more people than Joseph Kony. And yet the government continues to exist because it's a government, because it's a legitimately elected government. And where does the government get its power? It gets its power from the terror that the people have to stop the rebel forces. They never consider the fact that the government may be one of the biggest problems. They're using Kony as a means to increase their size and their power and their international influence, looking like the good guy going out and doing it. But I have done some things on my own with my own money, and to my surprise and embarrassment, I was accused of terrorizing villagers because of some of the things I did, just trying to get video footage of what's happening in the relocation camps. And they said it's the same tactics that the government used, but for bad purposes. The status of northern Uganda today is that, by and large, it's returned to normal. the people are moved back into their villages, which is what they wanted. The government moved the people out of their villages. The government actually burned the villages to get the people out of them and into relocation camps. The people hated relocation camps like any free people hate, because they couldn't raise their crops and they couldn't raise their cattle and their families. So the people were actually destroying their own huts in the relocation camps so that they could go back to their villages. If you went there today, you would see normal looking villages all over the north. And I strongly suspect that Joseph Kony is probably very sick, maybe with AIDS or something, and stuck in some hut someplace, and that's why nobody's able to see him. Well, first of all, what they showed in most of the video was true. Absolutely true. Those kids were sleeping in underground parking, in underground basements, and any place that they could get out of the villages, and sleeping in the city because of the terror that was being struck in the north and in the Congo and in lower Sudan and places like that. That was a long time ago. And I'm not quite understanding why they're making it as current like 2012 as they are. Like I said, Joseph Kony, I think, could be taken out in a matter of days, if not weeks, by the right people, number one. And number two, why are you showing such old footage right now? If we were to take a bus from Kampala and drive on up there and actually look for this situation as it's shown in the video, Kony 2012, we wouldn't find the kids huddled in these basements and in these places other than in their villages today. It's just not happening. Yes, and what the real intention is, I'm not really sure. I really can't see it, and I haven't heard it in any of the discussions on this video on how viral it went and the interest that's in it, other than the fact that there's a lot of celebrities that are now involved in it. But like I say, Joseph Kony could be taken out in a matter of days, if not a couple of weeks. And so why is this going on like it's a huge cause that's going to affect tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people in the north of Uganda? It's not. His rebel armies are just not as effective as they used to be. Many of his leaders have been captured. They're in the international courts now. And like I said, I strongly suspect Joseph Kony is sick in the back of some hut someplace. The last time I was there was in late 2010. I have another trip planned in about 2 months. But in late 2010, I saw brand new banks. I saw brand new businesses starting up. There was a lot of small mom and pops that were getting knocked down and moved out of the way for new pharmacies and things like that, thank God are being built up in that part of the country. But for the most part, that country is back to normal. People are feeling much more confident going back to their homes now. A lot of the homes are also, a lot of the mud huts are also being replaced with they're mud walled buildings, but mostly they're brick wall buildings if the people can afford it. Brick wall homes with steel doors instead of the old huts that you've seen in so many of the National Geographics over the decades and centuries. They're actually brick homes that they're building now, so they're harder to get into and harder to set on fire because they now have tin roofs.